Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special edition of the Baltimore Ravens Rundown, where I get to operate as your host, Candy CWall Waller from Bowie TV, with our Ravens reporter and insider, Miss Carita Parks.
Hello. Exciting day.
Yes, big exciting day. Before we get into it, because we like to pride ourselves at Bowie TV with being authentic, operate with very high level of transparency. Carita decided to go golfing.
I did.
She really did, and I just was quiet. I said, "Okay, I'm not going."
I went out there, as you can see. I came straight home to do this. So a lot of dedication and balancing today.
Yes, I couldn't make it work to go. It's like the NFL schedule is taking us down. But Carita, good job.
I golfed for both of us.
Yes, thank you. That's good. I guess you've done it the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay. But let's get right on into it. Ravens flock. This one is for you, Carita. If you all haven't seen it yet, if you are returning Bowie TV watcher with the Ravens rundown and you are familiar with Carita's work, welcome back. Hello to you. If you are new to the Bowie TV community, Ravens flock, welcome. Make sure you check out Carita's Ravens rundown draft recap, which now is perfectly timed because we have to get into this here schedule. Okay. We have to get into this schedule. And I'm saying it like this because I've already mentioned to Carita, I said, well, you would think they went to the Super Bowl last year because the schedule is aggressive.
That. Yes. Well, hey, they went to the AFC Championship, so I guess the NFL said, let's see what you got next season.
What you got? Gee whiz. Okay, so because even for preseason, I was like, Carita, is everybody okay? All right, so we're going to do a high level, just running through the schedule. Then we're going to go kind of through each one and some interesting notes about the games. So preseason, Friday, August 9th at M&T Bank Stadium. So Ravens flock, you have two preseason games, one against the Eagles, one against the Falcons, and then the Ravens go to Lambeau Field.
Yes.
Okay. Then, of course, the game that everybody's been talking about, Week 1, Thursday Night Football. Speaking of AFC Championship, the AFC Championship rematch, but this time it's in Arrowhead against the Kansas City Chiefs.
It is. Yes, it is.
Everybody get your Peacock subscription because there's a lot of Peacock, Paramount Plus, Prime Video stuff on his schedule here.
There's just a lot of different things going on, but they opened the season how they ended the season. So it's going to really set the tone. No, it's not the same at stake, but the Ravens, if they can start off strong, that'll set a good tone for the season. And the Ravens fans obviously are still reeling from that AFC Championship game. So it'll ease the pain a little bit. Ease the pain. A win will ease the pain.
We are too.
Anyway,
it was like, am I a little bitter about it? Maybe. But anyway, maybe so. But then they have the Raiders at home. So for their home opener, another tough crowd, another tough team, the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens is kind of interesting. And I know we're going to go through the games, but the first couple of games are tough opponents. So they come back from Arrowhead, and it doesn't get any easier. Good thing is it's a home game, and M&T Bank Stadium will be rocking, but it doesn't get easier with the Raiders.
Right. Got to pump it up because after that, to your point that it doesn't get easier, week 3 in Dallas against the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium.
Yes, Dak Prescott.
Yeah, we still got to see what they're going to do. And Ravens flock, this is our initial reaction. Once the 53 is set closer to the season, we're going to do this again with you all once all the rosters are set. And Carita can really get into what she's been seeing from now at rookie camp all the way through training camp. And then, like you said, those rosters are set for all the teams that can really dig in about, what she anticipates happening with the season, because after the Cowboys, it's the Buffalo Bills. And let me kind of run through this. It's the Buffalo Bills, then they're at the Bengals, then there's an away game against the Washington Commanders, then they're at the Bucks.
Wait, that's a home game.
That's a home game, but it's away for the Commanders. That's why.
Oh yeah, away for the Commanders. Yes.
It's a home game for the Ravens, and then what? Tampa Bay, at Cleveland, Denver at home. Wait a minute now. Oh, yeah. And then the Bengals again.
At home.
Then at Pittsburgh.
And so let's just note really quick, aside from the Broncos, those are all divisional opponents. The Browns, the Steelers, and the Bengals.
And the Bengals. And the Bengals is another prime time. We're going to get into all these prime time games in a minute. Steelers, the Chargers. I mean, they're like, just change the Ravens games to make them all prime time. But anyway, I don't know how you would feel about that, Carita. But
right. Well, at this point, hey, I'd have to go with
you. Gonna be there anyway. So
5 prime time, 7 nationally televised. So
right, because prime time against the Bengals at M&T Bank Stadium, November 7th, but then Sunday at Pittsburgh, November 17th, and then Monday, November 25th at the LA Chargers. Then the next week is at home against the Eagles, and then it's a bye.
Which
a week 14 bye.
Week 14, super late in the season. Which their bye was late last year, but I think this one might be slightly.
Well, it might be the same. Well, I think it's like a week apart.
Yeah, it's super close to what it was last year, but.
And Bowie TV watchers, we covered the Commanders as well. And funny enough, the Commanders and the Ravens share the same bye week.
Oh, interesting.
So everybody will be asleep. But anyway, week 15 at the Giants. Then 16, the Steelers, and the rest of the season kind of shapes up with the Steelers. Christmas Day at the Texans, and then back at home against the Browns.
Yeah, that's another tough end to the season.
So, Carita, what are your initial, what's your one word? You got to play the one word game. What's your one word of your initial reaction to the schedule?
Tough. Tough. The Ravens have the second toughest schedule in the league, and it's definitely reflected in the schedule release. I mean, like we said, they start the season with a bang. Chiefs, Raiders, Cowboys, Bills, Bengals. There's no time because I remember last year they were also under a new system with Todd Monken. But it took them some time. They won the games, but it took them some time to kind of gear up and get comfortable and just gel. There's really no time for that this season. If you look at the schedule, they have to come out the gate strong.
Yeah, second toughest schedule, to your point of your one word of tough. And it looks like this is just insane. So they have 5 primetime night games, right?
Yes,
9 road games. Yeah, 9 road games. 9 games on the road, 5 primetime games. An NFL high 10 contests against last year's playoff teams.
Yes.
12 games facing teams that finished 500 or better last season.
Not to mention this December stretch, I want to say, because I made notes of it, Giants are away, Steelers home, Houston away.
Mm-hmm.
But those games are, I think, within a 10 day, 10, 11-day span. So they played 3 games in that short time period, 2 of them being away.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of spotlight on the Ravens.
Oh yeah, a lot of spotlight. They're not going to be able to fly under the radar this year. And like last year, I remember asking at some point mid to early in the season, Patrick Queen, who is with the Steelers now, so that'll be interesting as well. But asking him if they were flying under the radar, and he was kind of like, I don't really care if we're flying under the radar. And I believe they were at that particular time. They did not start. People didn't really start noticing until they started playing some of those primetime games and some of those nationally televised games, which were later in the season. This year, all eyes are going to be on the Ravens throughout the entire season.
Right. And I remembered we would talk about it, right? We would be like, is anybody paying attention to what the Ravens are doing? I mean, I remember having that discussion with you as late as like Thanksgiving weekend. Being like, is anybody like
for me, for obvious reasons, it was pretty loud and clear. And I'm not sure why the Ravens flew under the radar, because they were still a pretty high profile team.
Sure.
But somehow they were able to. And Lamar Jackson said he likes it that way, but not this year.
Maybe that they should have stayed the underdog for that AFC Championship game, because maybe it was that was pressure. Yeah. So maybe they can, but it's hard to be the underdog when it's clearly all eyes on you, because you are, very not much under the radar this year. You got all these primetime games, road games, all of these high commodity subscriptions you got to get in order to watch their game. So this will be interesting. Carita, how much do you think this is also? Yes, we know they went to the AFC Championship, but and then they had they did have the best regular season record, right? But how much of this also has to kind of do with what is anticipated between the Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry duo that people are anticipating seeing this season?
I think I would say that may be a part of it to a certain extent, and definitely makes the matchups more interesting. But I feel more so that the way the Ravens ended last year played more into the schedule. But having Derrick Henry probably solidified some of the decision making when it came to putting the schedule together, because I mean, that will be, if it pans out the way we think it's going to pan out, a very high profile duo that people are, and all eyes are going to be on them to see what Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry can do together.
Right now, we know that there were some changes on defense. You mentioned Patrick Queen a moment ago, who's no longer with the Ravens, as you mentioned. He's now with the Steelers, who they have to see. Well, they have to see them every year, right? That's, I guess, that's their rival. But you reposted a tweet from Kyle Hamilton. So what's the vibe you thinking now that the schedule is out? How you think the team is feeling about the schedule?
Well, it's kind of funny because I did see his tweet, and he didn't really comment on the schedule itself, but he commented on that like December stretch. He didn't say December, but if in evaluating the schedule, that's where it lands, those 3 games in 10 days. But he also sounds like bring it on. That's kind of the vibe I got, bring it on. And I think just knowing and covering the team, I feel like that's going to be the vibe. The schedule is the schedule as far as they're concerned. And I think that they also probably feel like they can do it based off of last year. They had intense travel and away game schedule, a lot of away games back to back. They went to London, but they felt like that primed them for that playoff run and kind of built their chemistry and made them feel like, if we could do that, then we can do this.
I remember last year, and I'm gonna keep bringing up last year because, of course, some of these are the same teams. And while the Texans took care of the Browns in the playoffs, I distinctly remember you saying, "I don't want, everybody got to watch the Browns. They got to watch them because they sneaky." So again, it's just May, you all, and these initial reactions. But what's your take on the Browns so far this season?
Well, I think that they will be a tough team. All the divisional opponents are tough, in all honesty, despite how well they may be doing during the season or not well that they might be doing during the season. From my observation, and because they're divisional opponents and they all know each other very well, those games are tough regardless. So I think the Browns, from what I can tell, will probably be just as competitive as they were last year. You have to think they should have Deshaun Watson back, which he did play in. I think he played in the game that the Ravens lost to the Browns. But having your starting cornerback obviously is a game changer. And I think that we can still expect that to be another tough matchup for the Ravens, like it will be for all the divisional opponents, as far as I'm concerned.
And then Christmas Day, I know that was one I think you might have posted and had the eyes, Lamar Jackson versus CJ Stroud, student versus pupil kind of look and feel. What's your take on that one?
I think it's funny that game, that the Texans and the Ravens are a game that's going to be on Christmas Day, only because before last year, you would never think that you would see the Ravens and the Texans on Christmas Day, or that it would be such a sought after matchup. But so it's kind of funny to me from that perspective, because CJ Stroud has definitely raised the profile of the Texans. But I mean, I think it'll be, once again, you got Lamar Jackson, you have CJ Stroud. We saw CJ Stroud. He's a dog, and he's going to be a dog this year too. And Lamar Jackson has that same mentality, a ton of respect for each other. But I think it'll also be interesting because the Texans will be more than likely taking a step forward. They were still very young last year. DeMeco Ryans, he was still figuring out his system, but they made it that far. And so it'll be very interesting to see how much more competitive the Houston Texans might be against the Ravens this year. But I think we're looking at a good game.
And the Ravens schedule got me so flustered. I think I said student versus pupil. I meant teacher versus pupil. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm just like, is everybody going to be okay?
I know my mind is going, so I didn't even.
Is everybody all right? I don't know. I don't even know what I said, but it was just at this point, and it would be some days where I would text Carita when she would be in the press box, and I would be like, "Are you okay?" Because it's just. It was like, hey, the Commanders were down the tubes last year, so no, I'm not okay. But it would be like just checking in, because I'm like, how are you holding up? Because that's super intense. And most days it ended up well, right? But others not so much. Carita, let me ask you: were there any surprises when you finally saw the full schedule? Were you surprised by anything?
Honestly, I think I was surprised the Ravens are playing Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Hold up a second now.
The Harbaugh Bowl, the LA Chargers. That's Thanksgiving.
Oh, the Harbaugh Bowl, and it's at night. That's the prime time. Oh,
one of the prime time games. And then they're playing again on Christmas Day. They played last year on Christmas Day. I mean, I think it's great. Once again, it's great for the Ravens, that spotlight. But I was surprised to see that they are playing both holidays. So that was, those are prime spots. And the Ravens have both of them. Definitely was also surprised. 7 primetime games. I mean, if you think about it, that's a lot.
That is
obviously expected. I mean, the Ravens did well, so expected primetime games for sure. But 7, I think I believe. I'm trying to see if I made a note of it, but I believe that's the most in franchise history. 7 games. Let me check. 7 primetime games.
Wait, it says, wait.
I'm sorry, 7 nationally televised games.
7 nationally, right, and 5 primetime, right?
So 7 nationally televised games, I believe, is the most in franchise history.
Right. And then it said 6 non-Sunday contests.
Yeah, that too. I was like, wait a minute.
I'm just trying to carry the one. I'm like, well, right. How many days in the week is it?
Well, I guess you Monday night games. There's a Saturday game. I think the Pittsburgh game is a Saturday. One of their games is a Saturday. And then obviously the Thursday night games. Christmas, that's a Wednesday. So yeah. That's got to be some sort of franchise history thing. I don't see it nowhere.
Right,
but I'm
all the Thursday games.
That has to be.
If you all think that I look concerned, it's because I am. But anyway.
Concerned for who?
I hope I be well. Carita, be well. We'll check in. We'll be doing our check-ins and be okay. Right. Because hey. Did anybody have a conversation?
I'm on the football field too.
I mean, it doesn't feel like it a little bit. I mean, no, I know it's not the same, but it kind of
probably wouldn't agree with me, but
agree at all.
It's not going to be for the week.
Like prime time is prime time. Yeah. Well, hey, listen, Ravens flock. There'll be more to come. There'll be a lot more to share and discuss. Carita will be at OTAs, mandatory minicamp, as I mentioned earlier, training camp, all the things all season long. You want to make sure you are following her and you are following and subscribe to Bowie TV as well as at Bowie TV Sports so that you can stay in the know and get the exclusive insight from what's happening on location at Under Armour Performance Center, as well as M&T Bank Stadium on game day. Yes. Carita, we will, we talk all the time. So I'll just keep looking at the schedule and making a little, what is this? You said the schedule. Okay, Kyle Hamilton. That's fine. But Carita, thanks so much for making sure we discuss the Ravens schedule, and you all make sure you are locked in. We'll be talking to you guys again soon.
Yep.